Hi friends, I'm here with another lecture on our new subject, Marxism. So, after a long time, I'm starting this course. This is, uh, this is Marxism, Positivism, and Pragmatism. These courses are put together. So, let's begin with Marxism. It's a new course for you and as well as for me. So, let's learn together whatever is possible. And let's know about Marxism, one of the important subjects in philosophy. So let me straight away begin with the introduction. French philosopher Paul Ricoeur said there are three masters of suspicion. They are Karl Marx, Sigmund Freud, and Friedrich Nietzsche. What do you mean by masters of suspicion? There are two expressions. One is masters of trust and another is masters of suspicion. Masters of suspicion means those key intellectual and philosophical figures who suspected and doubted what is taken so far for granted. And these three philosophers, according to Paul Ricoeur, are the pioneers in suspicion because they interpreted the system in a different way. They understood the reality in a new way, novel way. They unmasked, unearthed, demystified, deconstructed, and exposed what is being real and what is being apparent or appearance. In other words, they proved what is so far taken as false or untrue. For example, they critiqued religion in a deeper way. Karl Marx said, religion is the opium of the people. Sigmund Freud said, religion or belief in God is a defense mechanism, or it is an illusion. You may have the psychological problems, but you ascribe to God. Because of your sin, you are like this. God has punished you, etc. And Friedrich Nietzsche, he said, religion is the refuge of the weak. Religion does not require for the strong people. It is for the weak people, those who do not have reasoning, rationality, etc. In this background, Karl Marx stands out as an important figure in Western philosophy and in philosophy in general. So that's why our course is very important when we see Marx and Marxism as an important discipline for our study. What are the problems in our study? When we study Marxism, we face with different problems and challenges. What are those? First one is, there are multiple interpretations of Karl Marx. Karl Marx is interpreted not in one way. There are multiple interpretations. There is plurality of interpretations. Secondly, there are diversity of works by Karl Marx and on Karl Marx by others. For example, Marx was a journalist, historian, a sociologist, economist, philosopher. He has authored different works in different capacities, a journalist, historian, etc. So we have some confusion. Thirdly, the diversity of periods to which Karl Marx represents. We have young Marx, who was more a philosopher, During this time, he developed or co-authored in fact, Communist Manifesto and wrote many other articles which are basically influenced by German ideology, German philosophical background. Then we have the old Marx. During this time, he was more an economist and sociologist. This time, he authored Das Kapital. So this is another confusing aspect. Young Marx and older Marx. And fourthly, ambiguity of concepts. Many concepts which are proposed or propounded by Marx are not very clear. There are concepts in his early writings and especially in the later writings, especially in Das Kapital, we have many concepts which are not very clear. And finally, there is lack of coherent or logical and complete exposition of Marx's philosophy. I mean to say, there is a lack of consistency in the writings of Karl Marx. As journalist, he thinks one way, as economist another way. When he sees the society, he interprets in another way. Supposed to be, for example, Das Kapital supposed to be in 3 volumes. He has authored one volume, and 2 volumes were written later, authored by his own partner Friedrich Engels. So these are the problems in our study on Marxism. Keeping these problems in mind, we continue our study on Marxism. Now let me introduce the life and background and works of Karl Marx. Life and works of Karl Marx. Karl Heinrich Marx is his full name, and the date is 1818 to 1883. He was a German philosopher. He was born on May 5th, 1818 in the city of Trier in Rhineland of West Germany. His parents belonged to the Jewish background. They were German Jewish, basically Jewish, who are settled in Germany. His father was Heinrich Marx, who was a lawyer and public notary lawyer. And his family was very rich and comfortably well off. His mother was Henriette Pressburg. And these couples, Heinrich Marx and Henriette Pressburg, had 9 children, 4 sons and 5 daughters. Eldest of them died almost immediately after the birth, and 4 others died young from TB, tuberculosis. Karl Marx was the 3rd and the oldest surviving son, and was the only male child to attain the middle age. When he was 6, Karl Marx was 6, his family was converted to Christianity, that is Evangelical Church of the Kingdom of Prussia. It was as we have Vatican or Rome, the base of this evangelical church was in Prussia under the king's rule. The Jewish background of Marx has influenced very much on Marx's thinking and writing. especially about the prophesying of the world, how it should develop, where it will lead to, etc., are influenced from his Jewish background. At the age of 17, that is in 1835, Karl Marx enrolled in the Faculty of Law at the University of Bonn, that is in Germany, as a student of law or jurisprudence. At Bonn, while he was studying, he got engaged to a lady by name Jenny von Westphalen. Jenny von Westphalen, the daughter of Baron von Westphalen, a prominent member in Trier society. He was also responsible, the father of this Jenny, for creating some interest in Marx towards romantic literature. Romantic literature in the sense, the literature which gives importance to the human emotions, human nature, feelings, love, affection, etc. So, but while he was studying at Bonn, in the University of Bonn, his conduct was not so exemplary. He was over drinking and possessing many forbidden weapons. That's why in the following year, the father of Karl Marx sent him to another serious university of Berlin, again in Germany, where he remained 4 years and got his doctorate in philosophy at the age of 23. Just at the age of 23, he obtained his doctorate. So his doctoral thesis was, the thesis name, theme of this thesis is difference between the Democritean and Epicurean philosophy of nature. Especially speaking about and comparing between the atomism of Democritus and materialism again of Epicurus. These are Socratic, pre-Socratic and Socratic philosophers from Greek background. Basically in the thesis he said, the belief in God comes when you lack rationality and reason. Those who lack reason and rationality, they believe in God. This is what he said in his thesis. And he was also critical towards the Russian authoritarian state, which highlights more about religion, etc. During his time of doctorate, because of his vast reading, he abandons romanticism, and then he gets attracted to Hegelianism. Friedrich Hegel had influenced him very much, and during this time in the University of Berlin, there was intellectual legacy of Hegel being carried on, and in Berlin he became a member or part of the group called Hegelian Left. The followers of Hegel were divided into 2 groups or 3 groups: left Hegelians or center Hegelians, and the right Hegelians. So this Marx was the member of left Hegelians or Hegelian left. It's also called Young Hegelian movement. So there he developed some atheistic and revolutionary thoughts influenced by the philosophy of Hegel. So after completing his see I have written Hegelian movement there. After completing his studies in Berlin, Marx moved to Bonn, again back to Bonn, to pursue an academic career in the university, to get a job in the university. But because he was influenced by the left wing of Hegelian ideology, he could not obtain a job in the university. So he turned to journalism in 1842. The liberal newspaper, he became the editor of the newspaper called Rheinische Zeitung. Rheinische Zeitung. Rhineland Times. We have Times of India or Economic Times, etc. This was funded and backed by, this newspaper was backed by industrialists in Cologne. Mark wrote many articles basically and primarily on economic questions and authority or autocracy of Prussian government in this paper. So because of this critique, later on he had to close this paper. So from there, Marx immigrated or migrated to France. France was that time known for socialism. Socialism in the sense, the control or authority was on state. State owned everything. Nobody could have private property. Everybody was given equally. That is the understanding of socialism. So coming to France, in Paris, at the end of 1843, Marx there came in contact with different organized workers groups, German workers who were there in Paris, and various sects of French socialism and the proponents of socialism, for example, Proudhon and Bakunin. Okay, these had influenced Marx. There he had also edited a newspaper by name Deutsche Französische Yabusa. This is the name. I may be pronouncing wrongly these German words, but anyway you have these spellings here. So somebody who is very much interested and learning German, they can help me and the class to pronounce this better. So this newspaper was trying to establish a link or bridge between French socialism and German radical Hegelianism or left Hegelianism. So it was in France, in Paris, Marx developed some partnership with Friedrich Engels. He was also a fellow student with Marx while he was studying. From September 1844 onwards, Friedrich Engels became the closest friend and political collaborator of Marx. They took active part in the life and struggles of migrant workers. Marx and Engels tried to give these socialist movements a scientific shape or scientific footing. But Marx was expelled from there in 1844 because Prussian government said he should be expelled from there. So he moved to Brussels. Brussels is in Belgium, and there he remained for 3 years. From there he was often visiting England because in England Friedrich Engels had a textile business, or he had cotton spinning factories, especially in Manchester and Westphalia, in those cities. So during this time when he was in Brussels, Marx took much more interest in studying, intensive reading, studying history, and with this background he developed a concept called materialistic concept of history. He tried to interpret history in terms of matter, in terms of daily lives, of the practical lives of the people and the society. In 1847, Marx and Engels joined Communist League, and these both people were assigned the work of drawing up of the document which came to be known as the Communist Manifesto of 1848. 1848. This also caused a revolution in Europe. Then early in 1848, again from Brussels, Marx moved back to Paris. From there he went to Cologne and founded again a newspaper. The name of the newspaper is Neue Rheinische Zeitung. Previously he was editor of Rheinische Zeitung. Now he began a new newspaper, Neue Rheinische Zeitung. That means New Rhineland Times. It's like New Indian Times, like that. So the paper supported, that newspaper supported radical democratic views against the Prussian authoritarianism or autocracy. And Marx's paper also was suppressed because of his critique against authoritarianism. From there he was expelled. So he went to London in May 1849. 1849, and from there till his death he lived in London. And that exile, that migration of Marx is called as long sleepless night of exile. Long sleepless night of exile, because the life in London at the end, at the last years of Marx, was really difficult and challenging. He was utterly poor, he was sick, etc. So the favorite maxims or the sayings or the mottos of Marx are: one is, I consider that nothing human is alien to me. That means I consider everything that is human. I accept whatever is human. Another motto is, you must have doubts about everything. Don't trust anything 100%, but have some doubts. Then during the last decade, that is in 1850 onwards to 1860s, Marx's health got declined and he was incapable of doing any important work. His health did not improve. He never had any money. He applied for the job of railway clerk and was not recruited because of his bad handwriting. So thank God. Bad handwriting is not the sign of failure. Bad handwriting can also lead us to success. If Karl Marx's handwriting was very good, then his destiny would have been different. He would not have been Karl Marx what we see him today. He would have been a different person. But since he did not get a job there, he could do all these writings which brought about a revolution. The death of his two sons in infancy and childhood disturbed him very much. When the fifth child was born, Franziska was born, there was no cradle for her, and when she died, he had no money even to buy a coffin. In 1881, his wife died of liver cancer. In 1883, he lost his oldest daughter. On March 14, 1883, Marx died on an easy chair in London when he was 65. his maid came, it seems, and she asked for the last words of Marx. Marx removed his sandals and threw at her and said, "Last words are for fools who have not said enough." And with this, Karl Marx died. And it is said there were only 11 people to attend his funeral, and the eulogy, obituary, was given by his friend and partner collaborator Friedrich Engels. One aspect I forgot to mention: during the last decade of his life, Karl Marx, it is said, regularly spent some 10 hours in the library every day, and with this voracious reading, he could author the first volume of his magnum opus, the masterpiece, that is Das Kapital, 1867. And these aspects I have already said. 1883, at the age of 65, he died. And last words are for fools who haven't said enough. And the last part is the writings of Karl Marx. I have not mentioned all of his writings, but some of his important works are mentioned here. In 1845, he wrote Theses on Feuerbach, a philosopher. Feuerbach is a philosopher. In 1846, he wrote The German Ideology. 1847, Principles of Communism. 1847 again, The Poverty of Philosophy. 1848, The Communist Manifesto. 1849, Wage, Labor and Capital. 1859, Preface to Contribution to Critique of Political Economy. 1863, Theories of Surplus Value. 1867, first volume of Das Kapital. 1871, The Civil War in France. 1875, Critique of Gotha Program. These were the works of Karl Marx. So that's all for today. Lal Salam, comrades. This is the way Marx wish each other, it seems. So see you soon. Keep listening, keep studying. Bye. Take care.